I'm going to be sharing with you in this video how to deal with spiritual depression. And this is a very real thing. If you think spiritual depression is not a thing, I just want to warn you because it is. It is a thing. Now, it's not this thing that's like horrible. Like you're still going to be way more peaceful than you would have been had you not been on the spiritual path. You're still going to be more connected to your heart. You're still going to feel a lot better overall. But then what can happen is, one, we can start to feel lonely on the spiritual path, right? You start to feel disconnected to some degree, although you feel more connected than ever to everybody and everything. At the same time, though, we can lose connection with the people that are around us. We can feel disconnected from the people that are in our life, in our immediate network. Now, the online world can help that a lot because you feel connected to hundreds of thousands of people that are going through the same thing. But in your immediate network, it's like you feel very separated. And so what can also happen is, it's just a feeling of like, it's almost like you're forced to go deeper into yourself, and you know that there's no other solution. And so from one perspective, it's like, oh, I can feel a lot more peace because I know that's the true self, that's the peace. But from another perspective, it's like, you know that the things that you used to do will no longer satisfy your soul. It's like there's no alternative other than to turn inwards. And that can be scary sometimes. Although it is peaceful, sometimes it can create a feeling of like, wow, this is draining. And so I'm going to be sharing with you in this video how to deal with this phenomenon called spiritual depression that I think is a very real phenomenon. And I think that it can be something that allows us to really move deeper into ourselves. And when we move through this thing that I'm calling spiritual depression, it's just my perspective, I think that there's a deeper level of peace and fulfillment on the other side of that. So this is going to be how to deal with spiritual depression and how to step into your power by moving through this obstacle that might be coming up in your life. So if you're new to this channel, what I want you to do is I want you to hit that subscribe button. I want you to hit that notification bell because I do post a new video every single day. Also, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, hit the link that's in the description box of this video to apply for a free consultation. Also, I do have a group program coming up in the next couple of months. So if you want to be part of the program and know more details about the program, the link will be in the description box of this video as well. So how do we deal with spiritual depression? Well, the first thing I want to share with you is that being alone is not an issue. It's not an issue. Our minds want to make it an issue. And that's the first thing that usually creates spiritual depression, is feeling lonely. And that's why I want to bring this up, because when we start to feel that feeling of lack, like that feeling of I'm not enough, I don't have what I want in my life, it's a vibration of lack. We want to start chasing things outside of us. But the interesting thing is that, like, if you start to chase, then it starts to become like when you start chasing, you'll realize that the thing you're chasing is not what you really want. It's not what you really want. If you're far along on what you call the spiritual path, although it is a very real thing, but sometimes it can be misconstrued. So that's why I say spiritual path, because we're all on a spiritual path depending on the way you want to look at it. But some people are consciously trying to go into their true selves. When you feel that lack and you see, you know what, I'm just going to go back to these things. I'm going to try to find the twin flame, or find, not to say that these things aren't real, but we try to attach this idea of something that will fulfill our hearts. And then maybe you go after that thing and then you find that it doesn't give you the fulfillment that you want. Now, from one perspective, this empowers you. This makes you feel peace. But along that process, you may have felt spiritual depression. So one way sometimes is just to realize that actually chasing the things will not satisfy you. This is actually one way to overcome this loneliness and overcome what I call spiritual depression, is by knowing fully that chasing a relationship outside of you, chasing an idea, because oftentimes you don't want the relationship, you want the idea in your mind of what the relationship will give you. Like, yo, I want this specific person. But then you get to know the person in their true self, and it's like, oh, I didn't even want this person all along, right? You didn't even want it all along. You wanted the idea. Now, you do want a twin flame. Of course, I think we all have soulmates. I think we have twin flames. I think that we do have divine connections with people. But at the same time, though, we're attached to the narratives and the ideas that we want in our minds as well. And so what I want you to understand is that the first thing you can do to overcome spiritual depression is to really know 100%, truly figure it out, that you know in your heart that literally nothing outside of you will satisfy you. Because me telling you in a video and then you copying the steps is still going to be like, well, wait, what if actually I am going to get fulfillment if I go after these things? If you don't fully trust that going inwards is the solution, you're going to feel depressed because you're going after something that you read in a book or you watched in a video. I think that it's very important to come to the conclusion that truly chasing something outside of us will not fulfill us. Like when I manifested this apartment, I realized like I was excited. I wanted to manifest the apartment. It was beautiful. And then I actually was a little bit depressed for a little bit because I was like, oh my gosh, actually, I'm more fulfilled recording videos and doing coaching calls and being in the process of following my passion than getting this thing. And people told me that, right? And I knew that intellectually, but then when you experience it, and I think that some of us just have to experience that to realize that the answer is always within us, to truly find that fulfillment in our hearts, that, I think it's important to experience that. So I think that the first solution to overcome this spiritual depression is to really figure out in your heart that there is no alternative. Because when you find out that nothing outside of you is going to satisfy your soul, like at the very core, sometimes people can point us to the truth that's within us. So it's not to say like, oh, like everything's within me, so I don't need people anymore, right? I don't need a coach. I don't need a mentor. I can do it all by myself. I don't need friends. I don't need family. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying at the very core, at the end of the day, when you go through all the things of life, at the end of the day, you are the source of your abundance. At the very end of the day, at the end of the day. Now, sometimes in life, we need, to some degree, the external to point us to the internal, because you can't separate the external from the internal. We all are seeing reflections of our own consciousness, which is you, but at the very core, you are the solution. You have the power within you to really feel the fulfillment that you truly desire. And to know this truly is what will remove the depression, because you'll go into yourself, not because you read it in a book, not because you heard me say it in this video, but because you know in your heart that there is no alternative. And that can be scary, but that can also be the most empowering thing you've ever realized, because you cut the cord to the attachment to the external. When I feel that I don't need to chase a relationship, that I don't need to chase money, although I love going after certain things like that in life, like making money, I love it. Having a beautiful relationship, I'm all for it. But when I can feel that I'm not dependent on these things at the very core, at the end of the day, because again, sometimes people can point us to deeper truths within us. When I know at the core that I don't need these things really at the core spiritual level. I'm saying, again, physically, we might need each other. We're human. We might need each other to some degree. It's a human need. But spiritually, at the core, it sounds like a paradox, but reality is paradoxical. When I know that, it's like my meditations go to a whole new level. My meditations, I feel way more powerful. I feel way more aligned with my heart. My videos become better when I feel like I don't need to chase anything. And how did I get to that point? By realizing that nothing is going to satisfy me. No thing is going to satisfy me. No thing, no form. Because the formless dimension that is within you is what is going to satisfy your heart. The formless is your heart. Your heart is you connecting back into your true self. Okay? Now the second thing you can do is just move deeper into the depression. Move deeper into depression. Let yourself experience it. Don't attach to it. Don't take it to be who you are, because you are the formless observer. But move deeper into it from a space of detachment. Because you are not that depression. It's just an emotional, energetic pattern that's rising up to the surface, teaching you a lesson, allowing you to cleanse what is coming up so that you can shift into a higher level, right? It's not who you are. It's just an emotion. And so when these emotions come up, these emotions of lack, it's like this emotional energy wants you to cling onto it. That's what the ego wants. The ego wants you to cling onto it and attach to it. It wants you to sit there in misery and suffering and be the depression. But you are not the depression. You, with a capital U, I could say, because you are the consciousness that can observe the depression. You can move deeper into that depression with the awareness that it is not who you truly are at the core. This is what will allow you to take your consciousness to a whole new level. And how do you deal with spiritual depression? You deal with it the same way that you deal with every other depression you've ever dealt with. By going deeper into yourself. By observing and allowing and observing the observer and observing that you are not this emotional pattern. Whatever you feel in life, just have the awareness that it's not you. It wants you to become you, but it's not you. Now, the third thing that I want you to understand when it comes to spiritual depression is this one's going to sound a little bit more logical, right? It's going to sound a little bit more logical. It's not going to be a technique or like move deeper into yourself, but it's just knowing that you are not alone. You know what's interesting about the spiritual path is that for whatever reason, everybody that's awakening right now, the people around them in their life, once you get to a certain cycle of the awakening process, you start to attract your tribe, and then you know you're not alone. But for whatever reason, the people on the globe that are awakening, for whatever reason, the people around them in their immediate network do not resonate with whatever it is that they're going through. So you feel isolated, you feel alone. But what I want you to logically know, which is just a logical reminder, but it can help sometimes, is there are hundreds of thousands of people going through the same thing as you. Every like you see on this video, every comment you see when people share their story, these are real human beings that are going through the awakening process. But it's like, when I say awakening process, it's like, I can't use that word around some people. Like, that's what we say to our minds. But everybody in this community is comfortable with me saying that, right? It's the people in your immediate network that might not be. So I want you to understand the point of this third point is I want you to realize that you are not alone. You're not alone. The whole world is going through an awakening. I think that everything that's happening right now, a second lockdown is happening, all these crazy things coming up, we are shifting to a completely new level. You see, there's people actually stepping up into a higher level of consciousness right now. This is really happening. This is a real thing. And there's a lot of people that maybe they're not going to be in your immediate social network, but they are like, dude, like, I don't want to say the word dude because there's a lot of females that watch this. Just if you are watching this video, you got to realize hundreds of thousands of people are awakening right now. Hundreds of thousands. Like, we used to say, 1% of people are awakening. What if it's more than 1% now? How do we really know? Maybe it is still 1%. I don't know. But you got to realize as well that some spiritual channels have millions of followers and they're growing faster and faster and faster and faster. So this is more of a logical thing. Don't get an ego boost from this. So going out, the spiritual ego. Like, don't let the spiritual ego take over. That's another identity that we can attach to. It's like, oh, spiritual awakening. I'm a spiritual person now. No, you're just a human being. Don't attach to that label. But I want you to understand that you are not alone. You have the deep connect, because me saying that can fill in the void of, oh, I am not alone, so I can be dependent on this community. No, it's not. It's just to understand that you're not alone. It's just good to know that. But don't let that be an excuse to not go into your true self. That's basically what I'm saying. So remember, you're not alone, and you're going to feel a lot better. But also go back into your true self in this process and move deeper into the depression, and do not allow it to control you, because it's not who you are, and you are a divine being that can transmute any negative energy into positive energy. So that's all I have for this video. Once again, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, hit the link that's in the description box of this video to apply for a free consultation. Also, I do have a group program coming up in the next couple of months. It is happening in quite a bit of time from now. But if you do want more details on that and you want to be part of the program, there's a specific amount of spots available. The link will be in the description box of this video for details on that. Have yourself a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.